Yeah.
Oh my God, it's happening. Joseph. We're live, honey. We're on the internet, Joe. My goodness, let me just get my bearings, honey. Yes. Wow. Oh yeah, booting it up. We're doing it live, folks. Okay, I gotta go to that window to fade the music down, apparently. Doing it live, all DIY Jacob V Weekly, November 4th, 2020. Still in the middle of an election. We're in the middle of something that I'm used to being done with in one day. Still cranking. We are also live on YouTube for the first time successfully. Don't talk to me about the audio from last week. We corrected it later. You're going to be okay. And we are in the dark because we are working on a new setup here, and we are looking at the electoral count on the election as they come in, because we're going to talk about other stuff, but it's occupying my headspace. So I'm just going to keep it here because it's not over as we're recording this right now. We're 25 hours in to the polls closing here locally. And so we're just going to lift it up in prayer, and we're just going to do what we came here to do. A lot of stuff is going on. I got Joseph behind me here at the ready because you never know. But
How's it going?
Yes, thank you. I'm glad you're here. We had took Joseph to Lion's Choice for the first time. He told me in the car. I said, "So you don't want to eat here, right?" We were at McDonald's getting sodas, but like we're not going to eat there. We're not animals.
Well, tell him about the Diet Coke, Jake.
Well, I
and
was
your
there.
system.
I was there getting I think at the time that was my 8th and 9th Diet Coke of the day. And Joe was having a medium Coke, which doesn't make any sense. Grown man ordering a medium.
I just don't need anything extra.
Right, great. I also realized why I couldn't fade the music down there, Joe. Oh my God, I'm good. I'm figuring it out while we're going. And so we're sitting there. We don't want to eat McDonald's, but we do want to drink McDonald's drinks. And then we're in my neighborhood, and there's here in St. Louis, we have a lovely kind of local franchise called Lion's Choice. It's like Arby's, but good. And if you've never had an alternative to Arby's, Arby's may be good enough for you. But I got Joe the King beef and cheddar, extra seasoning. He had a large fry. I finished those for him. And I had my 10th Diet Coke of the day in the form of the Lion's Choice Diet Coke. I've switched now to the La Croix Pure. This is the unflavored hairspray water. Not a sponsor. So, troubling times. We are in a, I don't know even how to tell, because technically this is the best my life has ever been in terms of like things on paper, but that could just be coincidental with, the details of my life and career up to this point. I mean, maybe it's a false positive, as they might say. We're going to move the camera. It's live. We're doing it live, honey. Doing it live. Coming at you. So it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell, what role. I heard your phone click. Why don't you put that on vibrate? Doing it live.
It's off.
What role either of these dudes really play in that aspect of my life? Like, does it really matter? How much of that was me and how much of that was them? I don't know that there's tons of stuff I would give the current president credit for.
How did voting go for you, Jake?
You know what? Surprisingly smooth. In and out over here. I heard nightmare stories all day. And, the line was out to the street when I drove past it in the morning. And I was worried because I was going after my normal work day. and it was going to be 4:30 before I could get there. I thought, but they let us go early so we could have the 3 consecutive hours to vote that we were required to have, which is great. And so I was actually out of work and voted and got back in my car and put my sticker on my rearview mirror by 4:36, having left work at 4. So not bad at all. I actually had my whole evening to actually just binge carbs. I had the most terrible pasta delivered. I won't tell you from where because it's just not fair. They didn't know what they were getting themselves into when they fired off that delivery. It was like cafeteria chicken passed off as chicken parmesan. I can't talk about it.
What do you feel like the climate was around the people that you were voting
Everyone was
with?
super nice. It was mostly just the volunteers, people working there. So they were all super optimistic and polite and really ready. They all knew exactly where to point me to go and so on. So, I felt really good in that part for sure. And they laughed at my jokes about I vote by machine. Did you vote by machine or by paper?
I did paper.
Yeah.
What's really funny?
I'm not going to sit there with the little first grade testing day dividers and scribble. I'm a grown man. I want to poke at a kiosk that's covered in other people's mucus.
Yeah, well, and they don't talk about how, the volunteers of the election, there's some teenager who's, waiting by the scanner, and he's just so clearly looking at your ballot when you're putting it in. And he gives me this look like, "Oh yeah, really?" Like every time.
Like you feel judged by it?
Yeah, every time. And that was really But, I think what was funny, which we didn't mention, was that, we were supposed to do a podcast that day, but we both woke up that morning and it's election day, and we're like,
we were too scared. And they were saying when I was leaving work, there were still 3-hour lines in parts of the area to vote, and which is so weird because I did not have that experience. My wife went over lunch and was in and out at our polling place, and then I went, like I said, immediately after work and had very few issues. So obviously varies by area, and that's also concerning. Is it concerning to me that I choose to live where I live and my polls weren't crowded, and other people live places that I wouldn't want to live pretty openly, and their polls were super crowded? Maybe our ideologies differ. Bothers me a little bit, maybe not enough to lose sleep over. Do our votes really count in a state that typically flips to a different color than you might vote? Also, that's an argument to be had. So, we're asking questions.
land doesn't vote, Jake.
Who?
Said land doesn't vote.
I don't know what that means.
It means that, Missouri may be a red state, but more of the populace.
Well, the populace is the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we want to talk solutions. 264, 214. Electoral college is kind of a bummer anyway. And it's so weird.
What don't you like about it?
I just feel left out when, they spend most of the day arguing about Pennsylvania, for example, which is a place I've never been to, and has 20 electoral college votes. And even if do those fluctuate with population? Like, I don't know. Like, that's something you could look up for me. How do they determine how many electoral college votes each state gets? And is it like archaically predetermined, or is that something that changes based off population? Like you mentioned to me over our lovely dinner of Lion's Choice roast beef sandwiches, hot, delicious beef and cheddar.
Number of electors. The electors in chosen by each state are the same quantity as the state's congressmen, members of the House of Representatives, and 2 senators. I did not know that, and that's
I don't know what that means.
Unfortunate. So it's based on, it's the same quantity as the state's congressmen. So the number of congressmen there are in your state that
So
are
Pennsylvania
members,
has 20 congressmen
well, everybody farther to the East Coast is going to have more.
because of the population density.
Well, honestly, this is dumb, but
It's not your opinion. I was just asking if that's what you were saying.
Well, it feels like it's because they're closer to Washington, D.C.
But also, like, the East Coast is more dense in populace than most of the westward expanding places. People, as they migrated west, people got off the wagon and didn't get back on. So, you have vast expanses of, even like New Jersey is.
Wait, you didn't want to talk about the fact that we both forgot to vote?
I voted.
I mean, I voted, but we waited to the last day.
Oh
That's what
yeah.
I was joking
No.
about.
Oh well. Oh no. I mean,
I
it
was
was
going to talk
funny.
about that. Yeah, I said we both woke up that morning. We were
Yeah.
like, I need to vote. We're like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Today's Mother's Day.
Very much like that. So we're live stream take 2 right now. I think we are full speed ahead. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit touching things. So, Joe, we were talking about the Electoral College. We were talking about 270 Electoral College votes to win. As we sit here right now, Biden is at 264, Trump is at 214. While we were off camera, because this is a very old Mac I'm using for this, which is not ideal. Me and my wife are both buying PCs for gaming and streaming and stuff, but money's tight. It's things are what they are. So looking at this projection here, I mean, it's safe to say that Trump could win Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, even though they're not done yet. It's safe to say he could win Alaska because it's not done yet. Everything else is so close. But it looks like Biden's going to win Nevada, and if he wins Nevada, then it's over. If Trump flips Nevada, then Biden can't win if Trump keeps all those other things.
But so Nevada has the lowest percentage reported, though. And so it still has 25% that it needs to report.
So there's a huge chunk in Nevada, which is why. And so the determining factor is whether or not the amount by which Joe, for example, in this case, is winning is greater than or less than the number of votes that still have to be counted. You know what I mean? If he's winning by more votes than they have left to count, then it doesn't matter, right? Because they could just concede that to him. But that's the situation going on there. Also being in the latter time zone and whatnot, everything there just started later. And I also thought Arizona said they weren't announcing anything until 9 o'clock tonight their time. It's 8:18 p.m. right now as we sit on this broadcast. So
it's so funny because by the time anybody listens to this, we are just so far in the past. You guys listening, you guys actually know what the future is.
Do not address the audience.
And
do not just start coming in here. What?
Tell me.
You guys.
What happens?
Point at the camera, Joe. You at home.
You know.
You have the popcorn. You know the secrets. You know who the aliens are.
We're in the past right now because this is the only going to be listened to in the
future.
As
I'm experiencing it right now, really all I'm doing is later from now replaying this memory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like, and we're just like all the other broadcasts.
Let it go.
Forgotten. Okay.
Let it go, honey. BID, baby girl. Burn it down. So, I don't know. So, some of the things we were talking about, we had left our conversation in the original live feed from today on the Electoral College. It's not something I want to just say, like Joe, that's a great point. I don't want to just say it's dumb, right? It bummed me out, is what I was saying. And so, it's just weird. I just wish it just doesn't feel like equality. And look, today I was a blue voter in a red state, so my vote doesn't necessarily matter in terms of the presidential election, in terms of my state. And so that's not even what I'm expressing. It's just that it just doesn't seem appropriate to try to fit all of these issues under this binary umbrella of two dudes who look more like the problem than the solution. And
that's a great point.
I just, and it's, and being an aging white guy myself, I'm not going to just say it's an old white guy thing, because it's more than that. I mean, Biden is a 47-year member of deep state political kind of establishment, and not deep state meaning it's malicious, but deep state meaning like deeply rooted in the status quo. And then Donald Trump may seem like an outsider to a lot of people, but he's inside a lot of groups that I'm not in. Billionaires Club.
That's for sure.
There's an East Coast vibe. There's that seems exclusatory. And a lot of his ideologies that I don't align with. So, I mean, whoever wins, it's not going to solve the things that I'm stressed out about. I'm still worried about healthcare. I'm still worried about the role that healthcare plays in my career and how I structure my day-to-day life, which is really what I struggle with, is just trying to balance everything I have to do the right way. And I think that's the kind of thing that people were going into the election with, is they're really worried about their quality of life.
Let's talk about how disappointed everybody's going to be when they don't get to, go crazy because Trump won,
If that's what happens, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there will be kind of a deflating, like, oh,
Oh,
it's going to be really hard if
if good
Biden
things
takes office,
happen.
even if Biden takes office and survives the whole time, which is a maybe, it's going to be going back to boring.
Yeah. And
It's
I
going to be
think,
going back to not checking on the president several times a day.
yeah, that whole TV show, Our Cartoon President's not going to be really
It's
cool.
going to deflate, and it's going to be a really awkward, slow, and we're going to have to start doing news stories about puppy adoption events, and we're going to have to start going behind the scenes at your local custard factory. Like the news is going to suck for a while. It's going to be hard to, and Kamala will parade out there and put us all in prison. And, and Joe will probably launch some missiles to prove that he still can. But that's, are you faking that laugh?
No.
Oh, that was hard. But that's the thing. I mean, when I think about me personally, from coronavirus alone, which I'm not going to say is any one person's fault, but it sucks, and I had to carry this stress into the voting booth, is I'm out thousands of dollars in gigs and side work, and we have not spent thousands of dollars now this year
Thousands!
eating out and supporting local businesses like we used to do. My wife and I, or my friends and I, or whoever. I mean, I eat a lot of takeout. I eat a lot of pickup. I eat a lot of Postmates. I try to be supportive and tip heavy, but it's just different. It's just
Hundreds
not.
of ones of dollars.
Hundreds of singles, multiple dollars, literally dozens at times. So I look at this election thing and these electoral votes. I'm just thinking about all of the millions of people that voted. Apparently Biden got more votes in this election than any president ever, which, I mean, is great that all these people voted. I am okay with everyone voting. I said, before, I'm not going to make you vote if you don't want to vote, but I am okay with you voting. And I guess, is that controversial to say? Look, I'm okay with you voting.
What about 94-year-olds?
Yeah, let them vote. They've been through it.
What about 16-year-olds? They should be in the same group, I think.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. But what else are we going to make 16-year-olds do?
I mean, I think they should. I think they're passionate. I feel like we got to lower the voting age. We got to do it at like 13. I mean, the things that kids are doing at 9, 10, 11, and 12 these days, I mean, they might as well.
That's so interesting. Go ahead and develop some research for that for me,
Okay.
and so we can talk about that later. I saw the most heinous bumper sticker on my way to work the other day. Maybe it was Monday morning, and it was 7 a.m. I'm in the middle of the ghetto, driving up to North City, where I work, and this guy has a Ford F-150 pickup truck with a bumper sticker that says, "My truck was built with wrenches, not chopsticks."
Oh.
So many things wrong with that. Like 2020, they're not using hand wrenches on Ford assembly lines. It's mostly a plastic device. A lot of Fords are made in Mexico, and a lot of them use imported Mazda engines, last I heard. I think my Ford has a Korean-made engine in it, which I'm okay with. None of my business. I go vroom vroom. It's not a coffee table, hand-chiseled by, Mennonites in a village. You know what I mean? Like this lovely desk we just got here in Cat Hair Studios. Lovely hardwood desk. Somebody at least, glued pieces of it together, maybe. You know what I mean? The wood was cut from an actual living organism at one point. That's just not the reality of how cars are made anymore. So that was so aggravating, just to think about, I'm going to drive a big plastic car that I'm kind of ignorant about. Which is sort of imposing anyway. Those big trucks people drive around now is kind of ridiculous, kind of a weird flex. And then being I would love to go into a Toyota factory and see people screwing nuts and bolts onto a Toyota frame with chopsticks, but it's not how cars are made.
It'd be some Karate Kid kind of thing. But Jake, I think Mazda was once owned by Ford, and I think Mazdas have Ford engines. I don't think it's that.
Listen, add that to your list of stuff that you need to look up.
I looked it up.
And I'm not joking.
Did it.
I'm not joking. Write all this down.
It's looked up. I'm looking at it. That's why. I did the research.
Go ahead and send that to me in an email.
Okay.
some notes about this whole thing.
Yeah, just show
One
you.
thing that I was really feeling going into the election is as you felt the possibility of Trump maybe losing, is reflecting on his whole arc as a person and how weird that is. His whole arc of were his parents immigrants or his grandparents were immigrants, and then his parents are rich and they loan him $1 million, or or they give him 500 million, whichever version of the story you calculate or kind of interpret. And he sort of just beats all the levels of his life, and he happened to be the right dude with the right resources at the right time to totally conquer whatever it was, whether it was stocks and real estate or whatever, before moving on to later TV and the Miss America pageant and all these different things that he seemed to want to be really good at, maybe arbitrarily. And then morphing that into a run for president that was a huge upset and really disrupted the whole process in 2016 in a way that upset a lot of people who had a dog in that fight. That wasn't my side of the race at the time, so it wasn't as interesting. I didn't take it as seriously until it was much, much later. And then being a president that some people are, really enthusiastic about, and just doing that whole thing. I don't know that he wants to do another 4 years. You can tell that behind the scenes, this is not something that is as easy as he thought it would be, and it's something that is obviously a burden on him. You see him, hot mic between interviews and stuff, like swearing and being very just exasperated. So the idea of him exiting now and maybe having some kind of a victory lap where he does some kind of the circuit and goes on Glenn Beck's TV channel or something, that could be nice for him. Maybe, they retreat to wherever Melania's from and they totally ghost. Some people, I heard the conspiracy online that he resigns before January, and so Pence can take over and pardon him for whatever war crimes he or would be alleged against him or whatever. I think Donald Trump is the wrong war criminal to start with. I'd want to go back to Bush and Cheney first, maybe, and tie up some of those loose ends. But that's a theory that people have thrown out there. I don't know. Now looking at this with 50 electoral college votes, I don't necessarily see him pulling it back out. I think if he pulls ahead much at all, it mostly throws up that neither of them hit 270, maybe, if that's possible. That's the thing, Joe. I don't know is it possible for them both to hit 270?
No.
And is it possible for neither of them to hit 270?
No, it's possible. No, you can only, because
So one of them has to hit it.
one of them will hit it. Yeah.
One of them will hit it naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it takes weeks in the courts or whatever, they're going to piece those electoral votes together
Yeah.
in the courts and then come to one of them will have to hit 270. Is that how it works?
Yeah. Well, no, they can't. One of them, there will be a decision made by the state, and they will have, they, one or the other will get it. But I mean, I'm looking it up here.
I also read that is it if states don't get their electoral votes in by November 14th, if they waive those electoral votes and remove them from the equation?
One more time.
I heard that. Just that you have until the 14th to get your state's electoral votes in. Otherwise, they get waived and they won't count.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a thing. I look that up.
So, again, this would be a really great way for Trump to kind of peak and kind of come off of his long arc here and maybe kind of, I don't know, he acts like he wants to disappear. If I was him, I wouldn't be able to give up the attention that I've only gotten better at. Is he going to quit tweeting all of a sudden? I don't know that the tweeting upsets him. He's really good at it. He does it a lot. Ugh. This is the feeling. I called Joe on the phone on my way home today from work, and that's the noise I made. He picked up the phone and said, hello, and I went,
Thought he dialed by accident.
just like that. I mean, it was just upsetting and trying to act like, my job is kind of challenging anyway, and then I have a long day there. And to think that I have to wear this emotional burden of this society that I'm apparently a member of and then also just get through my normal day. It's so much. People wonder why do people do drugs or drink too much or whatever? And it's like, I don't know, guys. Are you looking at what you're asking people to carry around every day? Are you looking at what people are up against all the time? I mean, I go through a lot of therapy and develop a lot of language just to articulate my feelings about our experience, much less do so in a way that's actually meaningful or productive for me. I mean, imagine that you're dumb and poor and you have bad stuff happening to you, and then you turn on the news and it's bad stuff apparently happening everywhere.
It's hilarious.
If you look at it like that, it's surprising that more people aren't addicted to opioids and Cult 45. You know what I mean? Maybe the addiction epidemic isn't such a mystery when you size it up with all of those factors. What were you going to say, Joseph?
I did a little research.
You know how I feel about research.
The reliable New York Post, in the unlikely event that, so apparently they can both get locked in like a 269, in like a 69 situation. The House will break it. So the House will decide, with each state delegation getting one vote, according to 270. Yeah. So the House will get involved. A nonpartisan political website that projects elections says if neither candidate gets a majority of the 538 electoral votes, the election...
I think it's just electoral. I don't think it's electoral.
I'm sorry. Electoral.
And I hate to do that to you.
You did. The election...
I hate to take you on the whole trip in front of everybody.
The election... we can edit this. The election
We're live, baby girl.
The election for president is decided in the House of Representatives, with each state delegation having one vote. A majority of states, 26, is needed to win. Senators would elect the vice president, with each senator having a vote. A majority of senators, 51, is needed to win, the website states. Yeah, so it's possible. I was incorrect on that.
So good. So, and again, John King has not slept in 3 days. He's still on the TV doing his little dance in front of his iPad. And you can get up-to-date kind of stuff on the election, of course, wherever you've been doing that tirelessly. But I had to externalize it today for our lovely audience because I just can't do it by myself anymore. I need some support. I need someone else to see something and do something about some things.
Are we going to have to go to bed tonight with just sitting looking at 264 and 214?
Brother, it's not moved in a minute, honey. That's what I'm saying.
Fuck!
I know. It's not good. I am not excited about that aspect.
I mean, we're just such a content-based culture. I'll just keep refreshing. I'll be like, it'll be 1 a.m. I'll just be like,
that's the thing. It's like when you're looking for, when you're still up at 4 a.m, you just keep refreshing your news feed for any kind of a notification.
Anything. And I mean, oh my God, if it has my name on it, it'll be a whole hole that I'll just be stuck in just to clear the loneliness.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that I understand completely. So, again, I worry about people because if this stresses me out this much, I mean, what if somebody doesn't have the equipment to manage stress that way? That's all. You know what I mean? That's all I really worry about.
The equipment.
There's emotional equipment, psychological,
the fitness.
You know what I mean? The gumph. Is that a word? Gumph. You know what I mean? When you
you're referring to your shit that way earlier. I just Googled how long is this going to take. And
you just Googled those exact words?
I just Googled that by itself, and the New York Times is blocked by a paywall.
What? I mean, listen, you're having problems.
We're like
have you considered supporting your favorite news source?
I feel like if I'm going to be the laptop guy, I should have in Wisconsin. Okay, Georgia hopes to get counted by Wednesday. That didn't happen.
Today is Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday, even.
No, Georgia thinks they can finish today, I think. They're not stopping. But wasn't there a problem? There was one county or something where the clerk went home and they couldn't find her. Like they didn't have her cell phone number. Didn't I
What?
hear that? Brother, I'm telling you that there are specific locales
The clerk
in this.
went home.
I'm telling
Googling.
you, the stories are coming out of these predetermined electorates of one
Electorials.
electoriums where one lady went home and nobody could get a hold of her, and she's the lady that has to stamp the stampy stamp or whatever. And then there was another one where they were counting votes in a facility and a pipe exploded. They had to evacuate because it was flooded with toilet water or something. I'm not joking. This all happened. And it makes sense if you look at how many people voted and how many more polling places we had now than ever.
was
And
in
we let the
Atlanta.
cat out of the bag with, mail-in voting. And then some states, you couldn't count them until today. So it's a wild ride. It's crazy to think.
Somebody really nuked the election. They just took a giant shit in the arena.
Right in the middle of it.
I'm gonna
Center
stop
field.
this.
So
I know
and-
I can do it.
Yeah, and then there's of course states where they want to do a recount, which is totally their privilege. If it's within 1% or whatever, it is. I've also heard that recounts very, very, very super rarely, maybe never historically, have resulted in the reversing of a decision of the election or whatever. I don't know.
I can't find anything about somebody going home from work, Jake. I'm sorry.
Georgia, I don't remember what the title is. The lady that has to do.
You didn't even give a gender, and I wrote she. I said she went home from work.
No. I would write like Georgia clerk missing.
Okay.
I'm not going to do it on this machine because I don't want to tank it again. We're up to 50% CPU usage, which is high. Not undoable. One's a little high.
They said there's missing funds. Nope, sorry.
I don't know what they would call the elections office, elections official.
All right, anyway.
But so that's one of the. So what I'm saying is, though, there's a collection of small stories like that I've heard from some places in these swing states where people are throwing out all kinds of allegations, like, this count is delayed because this person fell asleep, or this account is delayed because they had to move buildings because the toilet exploded. These are all things that are going to be saturating the news cycle until a number is determined, and it seems like there's some real attempt from certain aspects of the losing party to fester some doubt, right? To stir up a little what if, right? And, and if you actually have those concerns, if you've seen or heard about anything sketchy with the voting, I would never want that to happen. I have always felt like my voting has been super legit, and I want you to have that experience. I certainly hope that's not the case.
If you see anything suspicious, you can call us.
You can call us at 1-888 777 9311. I think that's a real song.
Probably from the depths of your
I think
car
I
commercial
think that's
brain.
by the time 777 93. So
Here's the latest.
what's happening? What did I miss?
There's nothing happening. I knew to
Oh.
get you excited. Got him.
Got him. So I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do with that because here's the thing: coronavirus isn't going to go away all of a sudden. Cases are still happening. I know people that have had it. They didn't like having it. I know people that have tested positive and have been completely asymptomatic and are still working from home because they're quarantined while they're testing positive. But even if they're asymptomatic, I hope they stay asymptomatic. I hope I had it and didn't know it. That's what I hope.
Rabies isn't going away, people.
What? What isn't?
Rabies.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is like that's the thing. And now that's what is really crazy. If you really want to talk about coronavirus is like I'm watching all these shows on TV, and people are out in public just getting near people because these shows took place and were filmed before COVID, which we're like 8 months into now. And so I'm looking at, like, what are they doing? They're all up on breathing on people, and people used to go just whisper to strangers. If a stranger came up to me and tried to whisper on me right now,
Mm.
an arm would go out,
Too
an arm
low
would
for
be
me.
extended. Excuse me, sir. Have a seat.
Yeah. Not a fan either.
Of what?
People whispering.
No, just like coming up on you and like, oh.
Hey, can I get directions?
You know what I really get
skeeved
skeeved out about is when I'm wearing my mask at work, for example, and I have to get near somebody and I can smell something that I know is on them, and whether it's their cologne or their breath or their food or their hair product, whatever, just knowing that through my mask I can detect their odor makes me feel like I could possibly detect their droplets into my compromised immune system and I could die. So that is the second to second fear that I live in every day. I'm afraid to smell Leonard's cologne because I'm afraid that there's going to be droplets of mucus that are going to infiltrate my body and kill me. So I'm living with that every day. Call it what you will. Maybe I'm superstitious. I'm definitely a little stitious. I hate you. That's better. So I got these two dudes that I hate. One of them is going to be president. Doesn't matter. And then I got coronavirus that I'm living with, working out in the public 9 hours a day.
Among the kids.
Among the youths who are precious. And I'm so glad that we can provide that nurture and care for them. And I don't know.
There are already so many degrees of separation between humans nowadays, but yet there's so many of us and we're all still so close, but like, we now have these extra degrees of separation, which I don't think, I'm also kind of like, if you stick me in a box, like by the third day, I'm like, I'm never going to get out of here. Like I'm already like, this is it.
Like you
But,
try to adapt to those
yeah,
confinements.
that's just how my psychology works. Maybe it makes me weak.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm already noticing like, it's like if it, like back then, we were already not going up to girls at bars like, hey, what's going on? Like that was already a weak move. Now you already have to have a set date. Like you have to be on an app.
And then you're adding
being
coronavirus
romantic.
to it. So it's just
Right.
going to amplify. Yeah, because now there's actual physical reason for that separation, whereas technology created an accidental separation maybe at first. And then now it's very much more. And you and me were talking about this off mic a little bit earlier, just that in general, it's so hard to figure out how to develop or establish meaningful relationships in your personal life as an adult when you never know what kind of encounter you're walking into. And this could be romantic or otherwise. If I just want to meet some new people to play music with, for example, I don't know what kind of, not just germs, but what kind of beliefs or habits or ideologies they may be bringing to the table. And none of those things are necessarily deal breakers for me. If you bring over a drummer that we want to jam with, I'm not upset in what he believes, but is he going to like all of a sudden think that we're cool because we look like him and start dropping racial slurs? That's something that's happened to me where it's like, well, I don't want to act like it's okay. But if there's none of the victim in the room, then do I instigate this argument, or do I just let him think he can act like that? Like, what do you do in that sort of situation? And so it's hard to figure out how to navigate building those new relationships in an environment where it is so volatile, where people are so eager to fight for things that they believe in or to address perceived threats in a very aggressive way. Like you were saying, there's places in the country, for example, where people operate with more stress than other places. Here in the Midwest, I feel like the pace of life is a little smoother than some place that's more expensive and more competitive, like on either coast, maybe in big cities where rent is much, much higher and everything is much more cutthroat and there's more traffic and there's less parking and everything is kind of amped up a little bit. So even if you're just coming into a restaurant to get a table, you're coming in more assertive and more aggressive because of the environment you're in all day. Right. And we do this as organisms all the time. You and me were talking earlier that we were talking about issues like teen pregnancy, for example, unexpected, unplanned, accidental, whatever you want to call it, teen pregnancy and the issues therein, and that there's actual biological imperative that when you're in a unsafe environment, you have an impulse to pass on your genetic material, right?
The real pandemic.
Yeah, your subconscious will say to you, hey, I feel threatened in this environment, so I need to pass on my genetic material because I'm not going to be here for very long. I'm not going to have a lot of opportunities, which is why you see young women, for example, who live in poverty or climates of abuse. They often have experiences of premature teen pregnancy, disproportionately so to young women that maybe have less of those things, maybe more positive environmental factors like resources and support systems and, whole family units. And there's research about all of that. Yeah, I know you're going to ask
proportions.
Me. Right, proportions.
Of children.
So I think that plays into everything right now. I mean, everybody I encountered today probably had this level of confusion and stress on their shoulders of these numbers I'm looking at on my screen and just what happens either way. The last conversation I heard walking out to my car was two people arguing about whether or not arguing, but just talking about, they're already acting like there was voter fraud and they're doing recounts and it's all a big blah, blah, blah. So even in a professional, casual environment where people aren't actually fighting about these things, it's definitely on people's minds. And so that agitation plays into everything. And I mean, I think the last at least 6 or 8 months, I mean, all of our defenses are up so much more.
It makes me so mad too, because nobody wants to take one for the team and drop a sick TV show finale. Nobody wants to make any podcasts. We're all just stuck. There's no new podcasts to listen to, and besides, like, probably, I don't know, Joe Rogan, but like, there's no new podcasts to listen to. We're all just stuck. This is it. There's nothing left on HBO.
If you're not, you mean, well, because of coronavirus, there's a lot less new content available because things haven't been shooting. And then it seems like everything that new is coming out, like everything that is available, like something that comes out every week or several times a week, it's all about the same stuff. It's all about what's the latest with the election and the pandemic and the economy. And, you get kind of those same things all the time. Meanwhile, what was the thing today that they found a radio signal within our galaxy that we're detecting from another source? That's a big deal. We have too many other big deals to talk about that one.
Why do I always have to look up space stuff?
It's because
a space show.
It's a space show. We definitely have a space segment. I'm gonna get sound drops, and I have a space keyboard riff I already have in my head.
Is it just the ringtone?
It's outer space. Outer space. So yeah, something about a radio signal within our galaxy, right, brother? Far out, honey.
Yes, astronomers trace the mysterious space radio waves to a galaxy, and we've got. All right.
What is it?
It says in April, a group of astronomers spotted a short, powerful blast of radio waves coming from outer space.
Oh, that could be anything.
Yeah.
Oh, see, this is why I only read the headlines, because the headlines are way more fun.
Yeah.
Oh, when you click on it, it's nothing but old news and disappointment. Shit, piss, and corruption.
Oh, this is very interesting.
What?
Jodie Foster.
Oh, God.
Is researching it.
Not again.
It's a video of Hitler, and it's in the video. There's data.
There's Hitler video data?
It's the movie Contact. I'm just reciting the movie Contact.
Oh, I never saw it.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Oh, gee.
George, the guy who wrote that book.
I can't believe I fell for that one.
It's what's his name?
George Stephanopoulos.
Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan wrote that.
I was close. Yeah. Carl Sagan. Hey, Slick.
Just be happy we're not like talking about
The
like we're
election.
not doing like the CNN. Just like
That's the thing. I'm so glad that we're not clicking on a really nice touch screen of hypothetical scenarios. The hypotheticals are very, very misleading.
and there's always somebody like mad at him for it. They're always like Joe. Okay, now show. And I'm like, what?
Oh
what's
yeah, with
wrong
Joe
with him?
King and yeah.
What did they do wrong?
And is it Joe King or John King?
I don't know. It wasn't that. It was yeah. He's the
Different guy. You're not
different
talking
guy.
about you're Joe. Were you talking about yourself?
I was just naming a random name myself.
It's not random if it's yours.
That's true.
So here's my thing is what I'm going to do is I am going to have a lovely weekend in the woods with my wife,
Really?
and we're going to take the dogs and we're going to cook and we're going to hide from the world, and we're going to look at the pond from the climate controlled environment of the chalet, and we're going to reflect on our first year of marriage, and we're going to celebrate that. And man, I hope we figure this stuff out by then.
Congratulations, man. I didn't know
Oh,
were
thank
doing
you. I'm thinking because I want to use that as a model for people, for you, Joe. I want you to go into your life in the next week, and I want you to find the tangible, immediate joy in your own life.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? Whatever that is. Maybe that's going, on a hike in a neighborhood that you like, or maybe that's spending time with your pets.
You don't want to talk about the local election or anything? You didn't want
I don't know anything about any of that shit, Joe. I saw Parsons won, which is some bullshit. Now we actually voted for him, apparently. Yikes, fella. I saw Cori Bush won, and I think she was on my list of people I voted for something, and whatever that is that she's
only
doing.
blue. She's only
She's doing a great job.
for the House, for the U.S. House.
But no, some of the amendments, I think almost all the amendments went like the opposite way that I thought I wanted them to go, and the language was not great. A lot of it was either confusing or misleading intentionally. I'm not going to throw accusations either way. Super aggravating, super aggro.
What was that one that was like so transparently like some guy was asking for money? What was that he was totally
Yeah,
hip
that
job?
was the Give That Guy Some Money Act of 2020, and I shut that down. I said, don't give that dude that money.
All right.
I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe
What
we
was
should have
it?
show prepped a ballot. I didn't want to I didn't think to do a ballot analysis, a breakdown. I can't believe these numbers aren't changing. You know how long it took me to figure out how to do picture in a picture, to put the electoral votes in there in real time, to do the browser capture or whatever it is. I'm glad we know how to do that. One of these days, we're going to be legit. We're going to be so smooth. We are going to be a real operation. We're going to have a thing that says boom, 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 and it's going to be like a logo. And but until then, my goodness. Joe, what are you looking up? What were we talking
I
about?
was looking up the give that guy some money act. I couldn't really find.
Oh
it.
yeah.
Look at the
So
ballot.
again, but that's the other thing that is so important is we're sitting here arguing about Joe Biden and Donald Trump when really the stuff that matters is that more immediate stuff. Not that, that's not going to be a historical 4 years, whichever way it goes. But maybe for you in your life, the more immediately important stuff is that stuff that's changing immediately. All these judges that, most of us probably voted to retain, do they deserve those things? I hope I never come face to face with one of those if it's not that way. Also, yeah, those amendments, there's gerrymandering and whatnot was on the ballot, things of that nature that are actually more important. And this is what was so frustrating.
Expands Medicaid under the ACA. That's pretty important, Jake.
Which one?
Is on the ballot. Oh, sorry. This is the.
No, that's important. But which one was that?
That was the August 4th, 2020. Is the Amendment 2, healthcare expands Medicaid under the ACA.
And did that pass?
Yeah.
Good, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a good thing.
It's a win.
I'd like poor people to have health care because they're vulnerable and they can't just pocket, a bunch of cash for a down payment on a new knee or, maybe you're an uninsured bartender and you fall off a balcony and break your arm. That's a really hard experience. That's something that, I want those kind of people to be safe. I don't want them to have to walk around with broken limbs because they can't afford to get their limb not broke.
Bar none. I had to Google what that meant. I didn't know what it
Bar
meant.
none?
Bar none.
Did I say that?
No, I just was trying to make a pun.
But
if you
you
were,
just felt like saying bar none?
if you were Trump or Biden, what would have been the last move that you would have done to get some extra? I'm thinking if I was Trump, I would have like worn like a bright red Supreme suit,
Like a Supreme
and
tracksuit?
I would have stuck with messing up Lil Pump's name. I think that
Lil
he
Pimp.
crushed that.
Lil
I think that
Pimp.
was
I think
right
Lil
on
Pimp
target.
is a sexy name. If there's not a Little
Yeah.
Pimp, there should be a Lil Pimp.
It's,
That'd be great if I start calling you Lil Pimp. Like if we went over to your family's house for dinner and say, "Oh, hey Jake," I said, "Hey, is Lil Pimp here?" And you're like, "Who?" Lil Pimp, Lil Joey Pimp.
It's just so dismissive of like it's just one
Oh,
guy.
Lil Pimp here.
We got Lil Pimp here, and like
You can't remember one celebrity endorsing his name, and why is Lil Pump endorsing
Yeah,
Donald
Or
J.
even-
Trump? Is that where his base is?
Or even more hilariously, that like he did it on purpose. Like even that's his last act of spite.
I would love to think of it like Donald Trump said, "Look, I know your name is Little Pump. I think we should change it to Pimp.
I was thinking, you're on this, we're on this together.
Listen to me. I know words. I have the best words. Believe me, Lil Pimp. That's
Okay,
great.
well-
So we should. There probably is a Lil Pimp on Spotify, but if not, dibs." Oh my goodness. So I'm thinking we are going to recap as we get final results. That could be a whole week from now for another episode of Jacob V Weekly. That could be in a couple days. We could have this whole thing figured out tonight. We don't know how the math is going to shake out.
No, we're not. This sucks.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. Thank you for joining us for a very chaotic and reflective episode of Jacob V Weekly. Just a few notes here. For sure, find us online. You can stream original music by Jacob V on all your favorite audio platforms, such as Spotify or Apple Music. You can follow me on Instagram at Jacob Allen V. That's ALAN. Jacob Allen V. JACOBALANVI. Follow me on Twitter at Malachi NV. Jacob V on YouTube, and obviously Jacob V Weekly, wherever you stream or download your podcasts. Coming soon, live streaming both podcasts and gaming. This is our inaugural live stream via the proper channels with, I hope the audio is attached this time. We went through all the trouble of figuring that out. See you next time.
Are we done?